Oh, we'll watch Japan Analysis. Oh my God, that's what we'll do. We'll watch the new Japan Analysis. We love Japan Analysis here. It's called How Japan's Biggest Idiot Single-Handedly Destroyed a Political Party. Okay.
The absolute dumbest politician of all time. Stupid decision after stupid decision, this complete donkey single-handedly destroyed an entire political party that he built. He went from a popular senator to a broke loser with a criminal record, and it was all his own fault. Surprisingly, this story starts with the NHK. NHK is Japan's public broadcaster, essentially their version of the BBC. And while they're basically just a news station, there's a big movement of people who hate them. The biggest reason for this being their fees. Everyone who lives in Japan and owns a TV must pay the NHK's fees. Doesn't matter if you don't watch their channel, doesn't matter if you just use your TV for Netflix, you have to pay. And if you don't,
$200 a year. Interesting. It's not that much for having, I mean, I kind of envy Britain. I don't know how good it is anymore, but the BBC in general was like better than American news. And so I assume NHK is probably similar, where it's like, or like public broadcasting, where they don't have a profit motive. That's not much. If you don't intend to watch it, never intend to watch it. I mean, I agree if you never want to use it, but also it's like the idea is that it helps your society be a little bit better because you have a public not-for-profit news organization. I could see arguments for it if it wasn't that expensive.
NHK will send debt collectors to your house until you do. Everyone who's lived in Japan has dealt with these guys. A lot of them are nice and will back off when you say you don't own a TV, or if you intimidate them with your Yakuza tattoos. But most of them are persistent.
One of the reasons these people are so pushy is because they're not actually employees of the NHK. They are people contracted by the NHK who only get paid a commission based off how many TV plans they sell, which explains why they might do something like this.
They will try anything to get you to pay. They'll come knocking every day, peeping through your windows, looking for anything that resembles it.
I'm sorry. So it's a tax you have to pay in person? Someone comes to your door and demands the NHK fee? No wonder everyone fucking hates it. That's if you don't pay. Okay, I see.
TV, or try to trick you that your computer monitor or even your cell phone counts as one. In the worst cases, they've been known to trespass or even get physical with people who won't pay. But eventually, one brave man stood up to the NHK and said, enough. His name? Tachibana Takashi, the man who hates NHK more than anyone. Tachibana was a professional pachinko player. Yes, that's a thing.
If you don't know what pachinko is, it's kind of like if you took pinball and added gambling, but I'll talk more about that later.
But before that, he worked at the NHK for 20 years until he was pushed out following an accounting scandal in 2005. So he had more reason to hate them than anyone. And
so he committed white-collar fraud. He was a gambler, then worked for the NHK, then defrauded them, but now thinks they should be taken down.
With the rise of the internet, he took his vendetta to YouTube, where all he does is criticize the NHK and teach people how to get out of paying their fees. He's been doing that for 13 years now. Wow. But most importantly, in 2013, he started a political party called Party to Protect the People from NHK. And he had a genius advertising idea. The party handed out these NHK repellent stickers. Slap one of these on your door and bam, the debt collectors stop coming. It sounds too good to be true, but from the NHK's point of view, they know that whoever has these stickers is going to be a difficult customer in the first place. And even if they did show up, the sticker had Tachibana's personal phone number on it, and he would tell you exactly what to say to get them to go away. This was bold, and it worked. These stickers were popping up everywhere. Tachibana's strategy resonated with voters who hated the fee collectors. But this was also a wild time in Japanese politics. The first YouTuber candidate ran in 2016, and he was, well... Thousands of people had to suffer through that because Japan forces TV stations to give political candidates airtime, which is exactly why he was doing it in the first place, to send people to his YouTube channel.
In case you guys wanted to know, this guy actually still makes YouTube videos. Sometimes he even posts multiple videos a day, although these videos only get like 50 views.
Although some of his speeches were so bad, NHK had to censor them. He ended up suing them, but he lost. Tachibana saw this guy, a complete loser, and thought, I'm a YouTuber too. I can do way better than that. So he decided to take a big step and get into national politics. He was gonna run for the House of Councillors, basically the Japanese Senate, on a really simple platform.
NHK をぶっ壊す
And you know what? It went better than expected. People liked him, or at least they didn't like the NHK. He got 1 million votes, and he actually won.
NHK を
Oh, damn.
This was his dream.
his
The
only
people
platform?
elected him to fight the NHK from inside. It felt like the beginnings of a real political movement. The NHK party was extremely popular if you polled high school boys, and their slogan, Destroy the NHK, was the most popular phrase on the internet in 2019. But still, it wasn't enough. If he wanted to keep growing, he would need to fight the NHK even harder. Luckily, he had the perfect plan. Step 1. Become a criminal. Tachibana had recruited a mole, an NHK fee collector that was loyal to him. But instead of playing it slow, Tachibana immediately went nuclear. He took the names and addresses of 50 random NHK customers and posted them to YouTube, with a blur over top. And he made a demand. If the head of NHK doesn't meet with me within 2 weeks, I'm gonna remove the blur. Yeah, he was literally holding random Japanese citizens' personal information hostage.
Why- how would that be
And
popular?
that's how the court saw it too. Both Tachibana and the mole were found guilty for this plot. Tachibana was given a 4-year suspended
How does
sentence.
that hurt the NHK?
Well,
hurts-
that didn't work. Better try something else. What about expanding to other issues? I mean, the party didn't have a platform outside of simply hating the NHK, so maybe some new policy positions could help. After a lot of thought, this is what Tachibana came up with.
バカな国ほど子供を産むから
Dumber countries have
バ
more
カな民
children.
族っていうかねそういうアホみたいに子供を産む民族はとりあえず虐殺しろみたいな
So we should genocide these child-producing races. Jesus Christ! Dude, is casual Japanese Hitler?
Wow, that got dark really fast. But that's not all. This was his new right-hand man.
ユダヤマネーをぶっ壊す
ユダヤマネーと戦うってそういうことでしょ。
Yeah, this was the new NHK party. But I guess it's what you can expect when a YouTuber enters politics. People called for Tachibana to resign from the Senate over his genocide comments, but instead he just deleted the video and pretended like they took him out of context.
僕らそんな虐殺とかしようと思ってる人間に
Do I look like the guy? That's fucking wild, dude.
Tachibana was clearly bad
Yeah,
at this
he
whole
YouTubered
politics
it.
thing. He needed a new strategy, something flashier. Unfortunately, someone else beat him to the punch.
スマホで録画して YouTube や TikTok にアップロードしてどんどん再生回数を稼いでください。私の政策は千葉県全体をディズニーランドにする。
This makes me feel better about America. This makes me feel a little better, honestly.
A new Joker candidate was making headlines not just in Japan, but worldwide. Tachibana realized he had it the wrong way around. He was a YouTuber trying to fit in with the politicians, but he needed to bring YouTube to politics. Luckily, he knew the perfect guy. It was time for step 3, Tachibana's biggest mistake yet. More YouTubers. Over
Always a
11
problem.
years,
Always a mistake.
Tachibana had gotten around 400,000 subscribers on
Sheesh.
YouTube. But this guy, Gashi, or as I like to call him, Gassi, had over 1 million, and he built it in less than 2 months. Gassi was basically
months?
Japanese Keemstar, but instead of internet figures, he exposed A-list celebrities' darkest secrets that he learned over the years managing a really high-end bar. And somehow, Tachibana convinced him not just to join the NHK party, but to run on their ticket for a second seat in the House of Councillors. And yeah, Gassi easily won. But wait, why isn't he there celebrating in person? Well, Gassi is a
dangerous.
criminal, and he's on the
I'm
run
telling
from the
you,
law.
We're getting to this point, dude, because YouTubers' audiences are getting too big, and nobody pays attention to smaller politicians anyway. We're getting to the point where they're just going to start winning political office.
He's in Dubai right now. He ran away because of massive gambling debts. That's why he sold out his friend's secrets in the first place. He's also wanted by Interpol for defamation. But this might make you wonder, how is he going to serve in the Japanese House of Councillors from Dubai? And the answer is, he didn't. He never attended even once. Of course, he was still collecting his 19 million yen salary. The Japanese public hated this. He was asked time and time again to return to Japan. And by the way, once he was elected, he became immune from prosecution, so he easily could have, but he refused. Eventually, after many warnings, Gassi was forcibly expelled from the House of Councillors. The first time that's happened since 1951.
Damn,
in the
bro.
end, Gassi, who don't cry, which is a lie, by the way,
ほんまに俺のことはもうどんだけボロカスようが一緒いいです。
ended up getting arrested in Dubai, forcibly returned to Japan, charged, and given a 5-year suspended sentence. What was Tachibana thinking? Did he really think nobody would notice his wanted criminal YouTuber friend not showing up for work? This scandal was so embarrassing and the public blowback so strong that after 12 years building the NHK party, Tachibana had no other choice but to step down. And of course, because he just can't stop messing up, this is step 4 by the way, he appointed some random child actor named Ayaka who joined the party 2 months earlier to be the new leader.
現在に対する考えをお聞かせください。質問が難しいので、それはスルーしてもいいですか?
Oh yeah, and the
That's like the most softball question too. You could just say, yeah, I like lower taxes. That's what politicians say anyway. They all just say, yeah, I want lower taxes. My opponent wants to raise your taxes, but I want to lower them.
This is exactly what Donald Trump campaigned on, with ideas like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. But since taking office, he's not done much to turn these ideas into a reality. He does, however, want to expand his 2017 tax cuts, which, while beneficial to the middle and lower class, mainly benefit the upper class.
The NHK party, it was now an idol group and they were renaming it to Politician Girls 48. The very first thing Ayaka did was try to milk the party for her own benefit by hosting a really weird fundraising event where you could pay 10,000 yen to whip her or 100,000 yen to tie her up. She also tried to withdraw 900,000 yen from the party's bank account, but the bank called Tachibana to confirm and he froze the funds.
You froze our account? I did.
The original party's investors now felt betrayed. They contributed to help Tachibana fight against the NHK, not Ayaka's S&M Party 48. They all asked for their money back and now the party was in debt for over 1 billion yen. Suffice to say, Tachibana had made a huge mistake. Within a month, he tried to reverse course and kick Ayaka out, but it was too late. The party was divided. Even the Jewish money guy had turned against him and was now coming to disrupt his rallies. And it wasn't just Tachibana, he was disrupting everyone's rallies to the point that he got arrested for it. But he was putting it on YouTube and making money, so maybe it was worth it. Regardless, Ayaka didn't like it, so she kicked him out of Politician Girls 48. Tachibana's fight to retake control of the party was not going well. He was resorting to tracking Ayaka down on the street. She calls the cops, he chases her for a few minutes until she goes into a building and he stands outside like an NPC. Eventually, to figure out whose party it really was, they had to go to court, and it took a long time, all the way up until March of this year to resolve. The final decision, the party belongs to Ayaka. Tachibana had now lost everything. But there was one sliver of hope, an opportunity on the horizon. The biggest election in the country was coming up, the Tokyo election, and Tachibana had an idea, a scheme, you could say. Let me explain. If there's one thing you should know about Japanese elections, it's that they are obsessed with fairness and keeping money out of politics. Candidates are not allowed to hire staff or even pay for advertising. And to make sure they're serious, anyone who wants to run has to pay a 3 million yen deposit. But in return, the government guarantees you a ton of free advertising. They give you newspaper ads, 2 6-minute broadcasts on TV, and a spot on these poster boards. Tachibana's plan was to exploit this. Here's how. The most candidates that had ever entered this election before was 22. Tachibana alone entered 24. Not only did this immediately give him a ton of media attention, he also got the free advertising. For the newspaper ads, Tachibana put the candidate small in the little right-hand corner, with the rest of the space advertising himself. And that's not all. In their TV spots, he made them say his slogan and mention him by name. But the crux of the whole plan lied in the poster boards. There are 14,000 poster boards in Tokyo, and each candidate gets 1 square on every board. But by running 24 candidates and manipulating the way the squares are selected, Tachibana personally owned this entire section of the board on all 14,000 boards. His plan? Resell entire boards to people for 10,000 yen each. Buyers could put up whatever flyers they wanted. Some customers included a YouTuber who put up this hand-drawn artwork. This guy who advertised himself as the #1 host in Japan. But he must also have some haters because someone came and ripped his posters. Even idol groups paid to put posters up. It says, "We have a 42-year-old, a mascot character, and even a gay member. Thanks, Tachibana, for the advertising opportunity." Here's the mascot, so I'll let you guys speculate who the other two are. But as you could guess, Tachibana would take money from anyone, even anti-Korean groups who put posters up right outside a Korean international school. Tachibana's math behind the poster scheme kind of made sense. Entering 24 candidates at 3 million yen each would cost Tachibana 72 million yen. Yeah. But if all the posters sold, he would generate 140 million yen, doubling his investment and getting tons of free publicity. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't that simple. Tachibana missed something. A little thing, the public hated this. I mean, first off, this is not what the election boards are supposed to be for. They're supposed to even the playing field by giving each candidate the same amount of space and keeping money out of politics. This is literally the opposite of that. Yeah. But second, this screwed over other legitimate candidates. Tachibana's 24 entries pushed the election to a whopping 56 candidates. But the poster boards only had 48 spaces. So some candidates literally didn't have space for their posters, and the election committee had to make a special exemption to allow them to hang on the edges. I know, a special exemption, very Japanese. Basically, this scheme made everyone hate Tachibana. He expected to pull in 140 million yen, and the actual amount he pulled in? 55 million. Oh, no, I accidentally added a zero. 5 million yen. Tachibana did not take this very well. He blamed the media for making people hate his scheme and therefore not buy the posters. He wanted the narrative to be that he did this out of the kindness of his heart to prove how wasteful the poster boards are and to give a voice to the voiceless. And nobody believed that. The truth is, Tachibana was kind of right. Even though the Tokyo election got a ton of coverage, his scheme did get almost none. But the reason is, the media was preoccupied with something else. You see, both the diaper guy and the Joker built legitimate careers from their crazy performances. The Joker was even elected to a city council in 2022. And as a result...
No fucking way was the Joker elected to city council. Society for real. Society for real.
He also ran for office last year with a lot of anti-immigration policies and hateful speech, but he ended up getting last place with only 16,000 votes.
So this inspired tons of copycats. In the 2024 Tokyo election, there was a flood of joke candidates.
Yes!
可愛いと思った暑いね
This guy looks like a square. There was even an AI mayor who wants to make all of Tokyo's decisions with AI. Next thing you know, the city's gonna look like this. So yeah, it was chaos. The only people left talking about Tachibana's dumb scheme were the people criticizing it. Tachibana's story is that of a man who spent 13 years building a political movement, only to lose his party, go bankrupt, and end up becoming the villain. And you know, for a sliver of time in 2019, he was actually super popular because he tapped into people's legitimate hatreds of the NHK fee collectors. And he actually won that fight, by the way. Since his election, NHK has mostly stopped sending them out. And they even lowered their fees in 2023. So he needed to just take the win. But instead, he spiraled out of control, trying everything to stay relevant. Without the fee collectors, though, he has nothing connecting him with the people. He can't channel their anger anymore. Regardless, he's still around, he's still going, he's not going to stop, so I expect to see more of him in the future as well. I heard he's going to try some other weird election scheme next year too. Which I'll be going over in part 2, along with his boxing match, his history of being a pachinko pro, and more.
So pachinko is a game where you can buy tiny metal balls and launch them into a machine. Depending on where the ball lands, you can either lose or win more balls. But since gambling is illegal in Japan, you can't turn those balls immediately back into cash. You have to take those balls, turn it into a voucher, and then take that voucher to a separate building and then turn it into cash. It seems like a game of luck to me, but I guess there's some skill involved with how you launch the ball.
If you want to know more about Tachibana, this is for you.
Check it out. Japan Analysis, amazing videos, really funny, and a nice guy.